The story of today takes us to a future that is closer than you ever thought of. It is not the story of X-Men and the mutated genome inside them, but rather a story about scientists who paved the way for the first human genome manipulation trials that went so wrong. Nevertheless, genetic modification companies may nearly start walking on the same footprints of that rogue scientist. These companies are looking to correct genes holding inherited disease, but tomorrow, we as Homo sapiens may find ourselves taking the next leap with abnormal abilities and the possibility of immortality. Genomification will be the name of the first episode of HypeLab. Stay tuned. Hello dear future listeners and welcome to the first episode of HypeLab. In today's episode, we will take you on a journey back and forth through the past breakthroughs of scientific endeavor that may give human beings a leap into the next evolution in the future. We start this episode with 5 of the brightest students at Hyper Island. Okay, should we start from the right? Who we have in the right corner?
Hello everybody! My
Hello.
name is Lydia. I'm very excited to be here today.
Hello Lydia.
Yeah, hello. I've learned a lot about this subject and I'm super excited to share my knowledge with all of you.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Anjali and we are really excited about what we have got in store for you today.
Hello, my name is Bahram and I'm just happy to be here. I'll also share some of my knowledge that I learned about the gene modifications. So yes, I'm excited.
Hello, I am Lilo and I'll be mostly listening and questioning everything I hear here. So happy to be here. Welcome.
And I'm Ludwig, and I'm just excited to dive in. We're gonna have some really interesting topics today, and it's gonna be fun.
And this is Noor, your host. Okay then, so let's give the steering wheel to the background studies crew, who we have first to introduce us to this subject.
Yes, I'll introduce the subject, but me and Didier will be going back and forth on it because it's our, I'd say our expertise. Really?
Yeah, our specialty.
Yeah,
together.
our specialty, yeah. Well, if we start with talking about the gene modification, then we need to actually understand when it started and define what it actually is. The discovery of DNA, where it actually started. The discovery, or the familiar name of double helix, was actually discovered by James Watson and Francis Crick in 1953. But to keep it simple for this broadcast, we'll just keep it as DNA. We'll just call it as DNA instead of the double helix.
Yeah, first names.
Yeah.
Exactly. This discovery actually gave the rise to the modern study of biology and genetics, and so we'll have to thank the scientists for this discovery.
Yeah. I think it played a huge part
Exactly.
to where we are today actually.
Mm.
Well, yeah, you're gonna know that too once we dive deeper into this subject.
Yeah.
However, something I find really, really interesting about this subject is that it can actually be traced back thousands of years. So gene modification has been around for as long as we can remember, or like way back.
So you mean like the journey of modern days dogs and cats, or?
Yeah, something like that. So when we talk about gene modification back in the day or thousands of years ago, it's not the way we talk about it today. It's more like an ancient version of it. So our ancestors used something called artificial selection. Do you have any idea what that is?
Well, at all, but I'm looking to hear something.
Please.
Yeah.
Do tell.
Yeah, I will tell you. So, artificial selection basically means that they choose what animals to breed based on appearances and personality traits to get the best possible offspring. So, and they also applied this to crops, so they could have like good harvest throughout the years. Yeah, and if you want to take it even further, this eventually led to I mean, being able to build societies and bigger communities.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's like the ancient version of gene modification.
And Japan is still doing that actively.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the housing situation is so small, like apartments are so small, so they keep like modifying the dogs and cats
Oh.
so they could fit their perfect, clean, very cute environment.
Yeah.
Well,
That's cool.
that's nice.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
But since we are here to talk about the human gene modifications, to be specific, I think we'll just skip a few years and talk about the first scientific breakthrough.
Wait a second. Go.
Alright, in 1973, scientist and researcher Herbert Boyer had a huge medical breakthrough. As the first person in history who used biotech to alter the DNA of an organism, most people would actually argue that this is the major leap from artificial selection that Lydia talked about to gene modifications.
How is it possible? How could you alter the DNA of an organism? Could anyone explain to me, please?
Yeah, well, there's a lot that goes into it. So we're going to talk about more on that subject later in the podcast. But if you want to, I can just give you a short explanation.
Please, yes.
Yeah, to keep you up to date.
Go for it.
Yeah. So the process is not simple, but let's simplify it. So it starts by extracting a region of DNA from one organism and then simply placing it into another. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but therefore you're altering the organism's DNA.
It's like that.
Yeah, so it's like a puzzle pieces. You take one and you put it into another puzzle.
Oh.
And try to make it work. Yeah.
Playing with genes sounds fun.
Yeah.
But could you just cut out the wrong part of the DNA, or is it super safe?
It still has to be compatible.
Maybe Ludwig could tell us more about that part later.
Yeah, I'm gonna sort of explain the
'Cause I would-
technique, how you do it, what the effects are a little bit later in the podcast, yeah.
Yes.
Super, then we could go back to that later.
Of course. But is this it, or do you still having anything in your pocket for us?
Yeah, well, I think you do, don't you?
Yeah, well, just wanted to say more about since the experiment was a success, Boyer decided to 3 years later co-found his company that's called GeneTech, together with venture capitalist Robert Swanson, and this company was eventually able to create the first human protein in a bacterium actually. So this is where things really took off. So in 1982 they took to the market and launched the first FDA approved genetically modified product. Do you guys know what it is? Any guesses?
A wild guess, could it be insulin?
Exactly.
Not that wild, yeah?
That's
I
actually,
think you did your research before.
A little bit.
that's actually correct. And for you listeners, if you don't know what insulin is exactly, it's a life-saving medicine used by diabetic patients to just help regulate their blood sugar, basically.
Yeah.
So it's very important.
Yes.
Saved a lot of lives. So
Yes.
thank you for that.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah. But the years following, there were so many more advances within the field of gene modification that actually made it to the market that we're still using today, even though we might not know about it. It affects us daily. So vaccines were made through gene manipulation or modification. A lot of fruits and vegetables were engineered to have a longer shelf life. So most of the produce you see in grocery stores have been modified. And then something really cool was that in 1996, the first mammal was actually successfully cloned from an adult cell with the same genetic identity, exactly the same. So they basically copy and pasted a mammal.
Oh.
And it was actually a sheep called Dolly.
Oh yeah, I heard all
yeah. Somehow I'm familiar with that name.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember the sheep's picture. She looked really cute.
Yeah, she's an icon.
Aw.
Yeah.
Now she's having a sister, identical one, a twin.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
Dolly's the twin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Dolly is the sister.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. But is there any experiment on human that we know of?
So we'll get into that.
Yes, we will. And down to brass tacks. I guess right now we really started to talk about the first human trials. It all started actually with He Jiankui. He's a Chinese biophysics and associate professor at Southern University of Science and Technology in China. On November 2018, Jiankui first announced on YouTube that his team successfully created the world's first genome-edited babies. Now we're having genome-edited babies, God's sake.
That's crazy.
I'm telling you. Their names...
crazy.
Yeah.
I really wonder if you would do that to your baby.
Yeah.
But at least we know the names here, and unlike Dolly, we only know Dolly. Here we have Lulu and Nana, and we have Lilo.
That is not me.
Oh yeah.
Still,
Lilo is you.
well, Lilo is me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
I'm not
escape
Lulu,
that.
but
But you're
I'm
not one of
Lilo,
the
and I'm
twins.
still asking myself, would I ever modify my own genes?
That's our whole subject. It's a subject that we'll get into.
Yeah, we
later
should
as
we
well.
should talk about this later.
Yeah.
I would put my money on that, actually. Yeah, so let me go back. Mr. or the Dr. Jinoki said that the twins were born from genetically modified embryos that were made resistant to HIV. So now imagine that the twins are resilient to HIV disease.
But did they have HIV, any parent, or were they?
Yeah.
Well, actually, the father was holding an HIV, he was a positive, while the mother was negative.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Yeah. So the sperms of the father were cleansed of HIV.
Ooh,
Yeah, I'm
that's
telling
really
you.
cool.
Yeah,
That maybe I would actually. In that case, maybe I would say yes.
yeah.
I would try to modify the sperm.
Yeah.
So maybe the expert here, Ludwig, who knew a lot about this, more than any of us anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Could you explain us more about this?
Tell us about the technology, the tools,
Technology,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah,
It
for
sounds
sure.
insane that you can do it actually.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I think it's interesting at least. And the sort of the main player in this space is the CRISPR technology. It was the one that was used in the example with the HIV babies.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the most popular and sort of the first big technology used in this space. And there are some other ones that are not as commonly used. For example, transcription activator like effector nucleus and zinc finger nucleus and iPSC. And those are just complicated names, so we don't care about them. And I'm gonna
We
talk
don't.
about the CRISP one.
And the CRISPR one is from Sweden, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's a French researcher that I think she sort of came up with it in a university in Sweden, and then she got a Nobel Prize
Then
for
we
it.
stick to the CRISPR.
Yeah, and
We
it's
support our local
Vendor.
our local heroes. Yeah.
heroes, yes.
And so it's the most, widespread modification technology, and it utilizes the immune system of a certain bacteria to cut out sections of a DNA string. So it's like they take two scissors and just cuts a part out and remove it. And then you can also introduce a new part of the DNA. So for the HIV example, I think they just cut out the string, but if you want to add something like longer shelf life on your tomatoes, then you can just put that string back in.
It
Yeah.
sounds so easy to do. So just like cut something
Yeah,
out
like
and just
playing
add
with
it.
scissors and paper and just
But then you realize
matching.
it's so small.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
actually too complicated.
And and as we mentioned before, it's used on all types of cells, not just humans. It's used on crops, animals, and you
Yeah.
can modify any cell
Yeah.
that you want to really. And there are some companies
That's gonna
That's
crisp
right.
our realities,
Yeah.
apparently. So starting with this whole crisping thing, we have the CRISPR Therapeutic AG, which is a Swiss-American biotechnology company founded in 2013. Basically, CRISPR Therapeutic used gene editing tool CRISPR, the one that Ludwig was talking about. The whole name is CRISPR-Cas9 for hemoglobinopathy or blood disorders and cancers applications. One of the co-founders actually is Emmanuel Charpentier. later shared the Nobel Prize, actually, maybe the one you were mentioning
Yeah,
before.
perhaps it
Yeah,
was,
in
yeah.
chemistry in 2020.
That was recently, 2020.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was split with Jennifer Doudna, who has done pioneering work in CRISPR gene editing. As part of working group, she provided the first scientific documentation on the development and use of CRISPR gene editing. This DNA, in a nutshell, allows us to be specifically modified and exchange, which can, for example, prevent diseases.
I mean,
As
it
simple as
sounds
that.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's like coming from Hogwarts.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, I'll give the mic to my dear Angie to tell us more about those companies.
Oh yeah, but yeah, the thing that I would like to add on is that it's not just the medical field. I mean, the whole discussion is pointless if we don't even mention about the cosmetic gene therapy that's happening right now. For example, there's a San Diego-based company, Anti-Cancer Inc., that undertook an experiment to develop a genetic cure for hair growth in cancer patients who have become permanently bald as a result of chemotherapeutic treatments. Yeah, but then this was in 1995. Moving to 2022, we even have services like Stems in Therapeutics that offer gene therapy for various forms of hair loss and not just for cancer patients.
Say please, no puns intended. You're just sitting in front of me.
Yes, so would you, Noor, use that modification to
Well,
modificate your bald head?
well,
Or
I'm
would you
proud of
not?
this potato head. So no, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Well, if it could interest you, it's still available. You have an option.
Maybe I wouldn't pass the curse to my children.
You can change your mind. It's okay. We're in 2023.
Yeah, I will change my baldness.
But does it work?
Yeah, see, apparently it does.
Well, that's fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna need that soon.
Yeah, yeah,
good
yeah.
head of
So
hair.
I guess let's keep that to the future. Regarding the future, by the way, do you have any possibilities for the nearest future, Mr. Ludwig?
Yeah, I mean, except for having an amazing head of hair, there are
Here we
a
go,
lot
flexing
of,
on my ass now.
a lot of options for you, Noor, as well.
Yeah.
To get a little bit taller, perhaps smarter.
I'm already told, smarter, let's talk about that.
I mean, since currently we're mostly focusing on curing the diseases part, like cancer, HIV, herpes, these kinds of diseases that don't have a cure yet. That is sort of the main area of focus when it comes to research right now. But I mean, the possibilities are endless, sort of, with this technology. Like I mentioned, if you want to get higher IQ, if you want to get taller, if sort of the cosmetic industry is going to adapt this. Do you want your children to have certain eye color or whatever it is, more muscles? And even like going as far as sort of adapting our bodies for space travel to be able to live in other conditions.
But when it comes to all that, that is really futuristic, mind-blowing stuff. However, doesn't it comes with high price when it comes to, ethical dilemmas? Like by building the Ubermensch, the Superman, the superhuman.
Yeah, and it will most likely especially in the beginning. It will probably be like an economic question. It's going to be expensive to do these kind of surgeries. So then the ones that already have money are going to like produce children that perhaps are smarter or like get better jobs.
Basically, the bridge between the poor and the rich could get even longer, bigger, and
Potentially,
Yeah.
it could. And there's a discussion that is going to need to be had about this technology, since I mean, disease preventing is one thing. Yeah, and we need to decide if sort of evolving humans is something we want to do. I mean, are we happy with the way we are, or do we need something more? Do we need to sort of be able to adjust our height or our hair color or whatever it is? And that is something we are going to need to be aware of before this technology becomes available, because perhaps if you would change some of your genes, then your children will have other genes, and perhaps they have a baby with someone that has changed genes. Then the baby is gonna have double changed genes.
Oh
And then
my
we're
God.
gonna have, yeah, and then we're gonna have a new generation that has
Yeah.
like
Then we
these
maybe will
matches
have some X-Men and all
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah.
stuff.
But it's almost like also if you disrupt evolution in a sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's kind of like you have got a birthday gift, but you don't know what exactly to do with it.
Yeah.
And
But-
we're also not really sure of the long-term ramification of this technology, both if the body accepts these changes and what happens when we mix these new kinds of genes with each other. Is it going to be positive, or are people perhaps going to get sick? We don't know.
Yeah.
But what happened to the twins that were tested?
Well, actually, yeah, I guess we are already in front of some ethical dilemmas since that experiment led by Hu Jiankui, in which like lawyers in China reported in the light of the perpetual creation. It's not allowed to manipulate the human genome so far, and in 19 Nashan District People's Court sentenced Mr. Jiankui to up to 3 years of imprisonment. So by now he will be out.
Really?
Yeah,
Imprisonment?
and with a fine of 3 million yuan. I have no idea how is it equivalent to the Swedish kronas.
It's about 4 millions then.
Yeah,
That's
really.
a lot.
Yeah.
If it's 3 million yuan, then it's about 4 million. So it's not that much actually.
In my opinion, it's a bit.
I guess
It's a lot of money.
I guess the amount of money also comes with that they are still ambivalent to start getting to know what to do with such situation. It's so new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how do you punish someone for something that hasn't existed before?
That has no regulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I tried to find what actually happened to the babies, but I couldn't find anything. If they're healthy, if they're happy, I mean,
Yeah.
how
Maybe
they
it's more
are.
like a human rights violation.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Well, so do you guys think that in the future, since the Chinese got out and about and he has some money and he will have some money because we all want to be better and more beautiful and whatever,
Yeah.
maybe speak more languages or whatever, have a whiter teeth. The question is, do you think there is a place for non-perfect human in the future? Like, I mean, in the future that is not too far away from us now.
Yeah. The thing is that I to ask myself the same question. Is there any type of genetic sterilization will be in the future? Like, if we said like, could it be done by dictatorial governments in order to exterminate some types of unfavorable genes in the so-called utopia that they may try to force on their countries?
Like, for example, some countries, they sterilize pedophiles. So would this be used in the same tradition, or what do you think? What?
I think maybe certain psychological traits could be erased.
Like psychopathy and things like that?
Yeah, well, some psychopaths, I mean, they develop it throughout their childhood, but some people are born with certain traits
But like
that might be triggered into something worse.
dementia and stuff like that comes with old age. And,
Yeah.
Since it's inherited, yeah.
Yeah, and perhaps it could be. I think probably we will, as a society, focus on sort of the positive aspect, the aspect that is about curing diseases,
Yeah.
that is about living longer or
Yeah.
having a higher quality of life.
Yeah,
And-
getting more adaptable for the differences of, let's say, the gravity. If we're gonna do the moon invasion thing, like if we're gonna, leave the Earth and go outside, we're gonna have something to help us with the reduction of oxygen, for example.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
I have a question actually. I just thought about it. Do you think the big conversations about Mars?
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
people one day will be able to live on Mars, and it will mostly be the rich because it's expensive to actually live there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it would happen, do you think the people, let's say the rich people, would divide themselves and take those new generation, as you Ludwig said, and take them to Mars instead, and leave the others, the poor, on Earth? Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, that is absolutely a possibility.
Yeah, I imagine they might also take a few of the underdogs along with them because they need somebody for help.
Yeah,
They don't want anyone to work.
Yeah.
But I think just on the beauty standard side of the gene manipulation,
Yeah.
I mean, if we look at society today, we still have the billionaires that like achieve the craziest beauty goals, or like standards that most people like. They have to pay a lot of money to get
Yeah.
plastic surgery and like fix everything in their body that like normal people can't compare with.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna be. I mean, society evolves as a whole. It's just gonna take it a step further, but it's still gonna be the norm.
So
I think.
So basically, let's say the modification is happening now, even if it's on the artificial level.
Yeah, I mean, it's still gonna be as hard as like in, let's say, I don't know, 100 years when people are genetically modified to look perfect, as
Yeah.
it is today for normal people to.
Put some makeup on.
Yeah, I mean, we can
Or
afford
work
plastic surgery, like the best surgeons in the world, and most of us probably never will. But we still compare ourselves to them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's still gonna be the same shift. It's just different dimensions.
Exactly.
I think we will have a long time to sort of adjust
Yeah.
to that, because right now it's the hospitals, it's the universities that do the studies
Yeah.
of this, and that's probably where it's gonna begin using these kinds of therapies.
Yeah.
And they are mainly focused on sort of disease
Yeah.
prevention.
Yeah.
So that is going to be the first part, and sort of when we see how that works out, then perhaps
It can become commercial.
it can become commercial. But then we will sort of already know sort of the regulations behind it. And
Basically, we need some rules and laws around this. Some kind of rules of how we will be using this system in the future, I guess, which will be decided and provided by the government.
Yeah.
Which also means what we know historically, the government loves the wars and invading
Control.
each other. So I think before it will be commercial, we're gonna see some super soldiers flying around and
Do you think that's possible?
well, somehow, like if you have a soldier who doesn't need to sleep, for example, then you have a super soldier. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't.
Yeah,
He
it's a
doesn't.
possibility. Yeah.
Yeah. Jean-Claude
We
Van
know
Damme
how-
foreshadowed that, actually.
Yes.
something.
But it's what they did in like World War II. They took meth to stay up during war.
Yeah.
So they could
Oh, yeah,
fight
true.
for like days on end. So I mean, and they were like trampled by
Yeah.
that because you expect people to like sleep for a few hours and then you can like fight again.
Yeah.
But they never did. So I mean,
Yeah. I guess they're gonna start with
it
something.
works.
Yeah, they're gonna start with something triggering some gene traits
Yeah.
inside you in the beginning. However, International Summit on Human Gene Editing, they agreed for now that those experiments and research, it should not be used for clinical reproductive purposes because the risk cannot be justified by the potential benefit so far. So, but some researchers argue that there may never be a time when genome editing in embryos will offer a benefit greater than that of existing technologies, such as the pre-implantation genetic diagnosis and vitro fertilization. So, in a nutshell, they are still don't know how to deal with that. Maybe the technology or the whole concept came. Well, I'm rambling now. It feels so early to talk about, maybe.
yeah, but the potential is exciting.
Yeah,
I mean,
of
this
course.
could be the solution to live forever
Yeah,
if
and
we
the-
want to.
yeah.
Do you guys think what like if we start using gene modification to eradicate diseases and viruses, will there come a time when they're like because like viruses are also ever evolving.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
can we become like I don't know
Like a vaccine?
no not like a vaccine but can we become like irresistible to like everything or will there be like an explosion of a new disease so horrible that even like modified people can't survive it?
Yeah.
That is a possibility.
Like, are we putting ourselves in a situation where our
I can imagine that one day we're gonna put viruses on dish and we'll eat them because we can.
really?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I understand what Lydia says because it's also I just thought about the quote that history always repeats itself. So I can see that happen.
Yeah.
That there will be a disease so strong that even modified humans won't be able to like digest, I would say.
Of course. Of
But
course.
yeah, I would say humans would still try to find a way, to be honest.
Eventually, this is how the virus itself mutate by learning us our genome code. So absolutely, it will happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for example, cancer is something that we could cure because that doesn't work in that way. That's
Yeah.
just the cells being angry
Yeah.
and wanting to kill something,
Yeah.
and that we could change
Yeah.
and like get rid of entirely. So
Yeah.
that's exciting.
But then we have a question of the overpopulation. I think in that case scenario, Mars and Earth wouldn't be enough space for us.
But maybe if we genetically modified people to have like lower metabolism and less sick, so people doesn't need to eat as much to survive. So we become like more independent and
You
easygoing.
can photosynthesize in your skin and
Yeah,
absorb
that would be
sunlight.
so
Yeah, like a
cool.
plant.
Yeah, you could be a plant.
Yeah, because I mean the main problem now is like food.
Are we
Basically,
talking
and
about?
water.
Oh my God! Yeah, right now.
Imagine if you can like
we're a bit like Rick and Morty with that. I'm Pickle Rick. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, the possibilities are immense, but it also brings forth several difficult questions.
Yeah.
Like, will it lead to a rapid rise in the existing prejudices or even racial comments on a basis of maybe a preferred physical traits? But it might also lead to a society of DNA haves and have-nots. At the same time, if you look at the whole spectrum, there is a whole another aspect to it. Maybe like, say in the case of cancer, can it be like a melanoma vaccine? Or what if somebody is obese due to an underlying medical condition? Then they can probably take advantage of it. So at the end of the day, I guess it all depends on what we make out of it. But yeah, we can be hopeful for the future and believe that even though it will come with a few challenges, the technology will purely be beneficial to the human race.
Amen. So Angie, assuming that you're being a common person with a limited knowledge about this subject, which you're not, let's imagine a scenario here, okay?
Yeah.
In which you have an option of acquiring superpowers through genomic modification. I mean, you could become the next Albert Einstein or even that lousy Captain America.
Ooh, okay.
The doctors explain its possible side effects. Would you still go for it?
Wow, that's a trick question.
Well.
I don't know. What kind of superpowers will I inherit?
Well,
If it's the Wolverine, then I might go for it.
okay. So if it's Wolverine, you're all in.
Yeah, maybe,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, but it also depends on who is performing the operation. No, just kidding. Though, yeah, I want to really trust the process and evoke the emotions of optimism and hope amongst our listeners. I think I'll opt out.
Okay, before closing down, I would like to add into what you mentioned initially. Let me ask each one of you, if given an option of having an enhancement using gene modifications, which one would you prefer?
Imagine getting that like the location system that a bat has. You can,
Ultra waves.
and then horse teeth.
Oh wow!
Why?
Why?
I mean,
To eat carrots.
chomp on hay or something. I mean, we can't eat
I mean,
hay.
you can do that.
I want
My
cow
teeth are
stomach.
quite big.
Why?
Cow stomach, yeah, so you can
Taste your food.
taste your food
times.
again. Like.
So you can be able to make milk.
Oh wow, that's nice. Yeah.
I mean, you can still do that if you drink a lot. You're gonna be vomiting, and then you're gonna be able
Yeah,
to
you taste your
Yeah.
vomit.
Yeah, that too.
Maybe seeing in the dark is more like reasonable. I think just change something,
Yeah,
some
seeing-
genes about your eyes.
ultraviolet,
Yeah.
and see
Yeah.
that.
Like cats, they see good in the dark. Get
Laser
cat
eyes.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
I like the idea of being
Flies
a
can
flower.
anticipate.
You
the
wanna be a
movement
flower?
also. That's
Yeah.
And I think they see,
360.
and like some weird patterns. They
Yeah.
see like us.
I'd like to be able to zoom in, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, seeing the
Hawk,
See
like
far.
hawk.
Like a hawk
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Eagle,
Be able
like
to
you said,
see.
yeah.
Like camera lenses in your eyes.
yeah, zoom in.
Mm.
Then
Oh, a
That's-
chameleon,
Oh, blending.
changing colors.
changing colors.
Mystique.
I was just going to say that.
It would be perfect for every Halloween party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be perfect for every day. I don't give a shit. I would sit here like a monkey today, as a monkey today, and as Patrick tomorrow, and
Yeah.
the day after I'll be here like for a week. Next week I'll be here as Noor.
And
whatever.
you know, it's like a one-time investment.
That's so-
You invest in
yeah.
one person, the whole generation wouldn't have to do anything
Yeah,
anymore.
that's so great.
No, I would want to be able to breathe underwater.
Yeah.
Or be able to take like really long breaths.
But you don't want gills.
I
but
do
you
not want gills, no.
No.
But maybe just to like stay underwater for like an hour.
Divers do that.
Yeah,
without
but they need
gills.
so much equipment.
turtle.
Yeah.
So I can just like go scuba diving
But
without
you
the
could-
scuba.
You could start that by doing meditations to calm yourself down.
I'm too lazy to
And
put any
breathe.
work
That's
into
not
it.
fun.
No, I mean like breathe really slowly.
By that
Yeah, but
time, genetics gonna come and modifications and that.
The point is getting
Without
something
Sam
without having to
Harris.
do anything for it. Like just get in it.
Yeah.
It's that laziness that speaks.
Do you guys would you like immortality? Or like being able to live really long, but don't.
It's
not-
boring.
But you don't age, so it's not like you're a 100-year-old frail woman for like 100 years.
I think 200 years seems fun.
Not
2
more.
or 300.
No more.
Something
Yeah.
like that, yeah.
I think
No.
But
yeah,
not
it's kind of like
immortality.
that time movie in which you can buy time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In
In time.
time.
That's
Yeah,
a
in
good
time.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then if you get the modification, you won't need the time anymore. You rule time, like you're
Yeah.
playing God.
I really can't see myself wanting to be immortal. Like having to do this whole adult life forever is just so tiring. Like it just sounds way too tiring. Having to do this shit and then, yeah.
Makes me remember an interview with a vampire, the one with Brad Pitt,
Ah.
Tom Cruise. If he got so bored, like I need to die eventually.
Yeah, the preciousness of
You know
life
that purpose,
disappears.
like you are here, basically to pass your genes, so they can,
Yeah.
But
if
I
we-
already passed mine, so shut up.
yeah, you know the trick. Now you are purposeless.
I feel the pressure.
Yeah. Now your genes know that.
Yes, I know.
Like,
yeah.
okay,
Sucks.
self-destruction. Sequence began.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about flying? But you had to get wings, so you couldn't just elevate.
Yeah, but
I'd
it's
love
easy.
them. I'd love them.
I'm
yeah.
thinking about what kind of wings would you
Like butterfly
be able to
or
get?
bird wings,
Hawk. You need some hawk wings.
hawk wings.
Yeah, hawk's wings.
But they had to be as long as your
Yeah,
arms.
strong.
Yeah.
But
So big wings.
They are pretty long wings.
I mean, I could have wings as long as I can like put them inside of my body again, or like
Yeah.
yeah,
how
not
would
just
they?
stick in there.
What would they be?
Instead of your arms, actually, they should be
No,
instead
thank
of
you.
your
I
arms.
want
But I
my
think, I
arms.
think,
Then you're like a
It's
chicken.
gonna be like.
I think there's
Like
a
an angel.
limitation to this, that I think every cell in your body needs to change if you do this.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
if you would get like feather wings, then I
You'll have
think
feathers all over.
I think so. Yeah, I mean this is purely hypothetical,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
so I don't think you can choose like I want to be a person with beautiful butterfly wings, but you can
Like a
make
fairy.
your whole body glow in the dark, or
You're gonna think of
rock
aerodynamics.
glow
Yeah.
that, or something.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like it's extremely complex than we imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, I read somewhere yesterday that it has got a lot of side effects as well in certain cases, and sometimes things can go seriously wrong,
Yeah.
and people might even get cancer.
Hmm?
I
Yeah.
want a ladybug immune system. That is my
Why?
final answer. Because they have the best immune system in the world. I don't. I think
No, water bears.
Water bears.
Those,
Yeah.
yeah.
They
They
can
live under
survive
any
in
circumstance.
space, in
Those
vacuum.
microscopic, something like microscopic.
Yeah.
Under very small.
Yeah, it was that mouse like.
Because I think I'm just guessing, but I think I've heard that ladybugs like can cure their own cancer and don't get sick and like are just perfect when it comes to their immune system.
Is that why there are so many of them?
Yeah,
Plus, we're gonna be cute.
yeah.
Yeah, adorable. I would love to have amazing hearing.
Why? Someone snitching on you? Someone talking
You hear
in your back?
I'm
So
using
you
noise
can turn it
canceller.
off if you want to. You can like
Yeah.
control it.
Level down.
But you can just like sit back and just listen.
It's like eavesdropping.
Yeah.
You can take it as an extra. You know, a package, you take it as an extra
Yeah.
offer.
I would be
Yeah.
It just reminds me of that extendable ear from Harry Potter.
yeah. It's been a lot talking
Yeah,
about
but then
Harry
it will be
Potter.
attached to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
there anything that can become invisible? I don't.
I
think
would
so.
love to.
Like if there's an animal or plant. Or
I mean, there
something.
are several animals like in the Mariana Trench, like
That are
below
weird.
the twilight
Yeah.
zone, in the midnight zone,
Mm.
that are see-through.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
skeleton and everything. And they, yeah, most times they have like some bioluminescence, but they just use it to ward off predators. So I mean,
So it
Yeah.
kind of already exists.
yeah, it exists because there is no light down there,
Wow.
so they don't need it. So that's like their camouflage to be see-through.
Or anglerfish see through.
No, they aren't. But
They're
they
too
have
high
a
up.
they have a bioluminescent lure.
Boom.
Yeah.
A light bulb.
So I mean, you can be invisible then, but then you have to live.
You can be see through then.
Well, yeah,
So your skin is just see through.
yeah, and your
That would be
bones and your
scary.
organs and
Sounds like it can become a new cult, transhumanism.
That sounds scary. To see
Interesting.
someone that's,
Yeah.
I mean, where you can see the insides and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was thinking about like genes that can help you to become faster, like a cheetah or something. And I'm not sure if
Super
there's
speed.
anything. Yeah, because I mean, cheetahs. I mean, it's because of their whole like structure and bone structure and muscles and stuff. But if there's any like specific gene you could take out to become faster.
That's actually the thing also, that if we would take like a gene from an animal, we have to think about the bone structure as well.
Exactly.
That
Yeah.
one allows them
gonna
to
be
actually have the
impossible then.
genes. So maybe
Yeah.
if we would put those genes in us, maybe our body has to change as well.
Yeah, we're
And
gonna
we
be
will be looking
somehow like Transformers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we couldn't run as fast.
Yeah.
We would break.
Dear listeners,
Yeah.
if you could choose a superpower, what would it be?
Are we waiting for them to answer?
Yeah. Hello.
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 What's your answer? We're
Is-
waiting.
The superpowers is silence, obviously.
Yeah, so we want to leave you with that question to think about. We had some examples here, and we thought it just would be fun to experiment with it.
Exactly. And we will be seeing you in the next episode of HypeLab. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.